Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today, once again, we have him again, returning, is Ravi Perry, who is running for the State Board of Education at large here in the District of Columbia. Welcome, Ravi.
Hey, I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you back. So great to have you back here. And the last time we chatted, you dropped the dime that you were going to run for State Board of
Yeah,
Education.
you got the exclusive.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So it's great to have you back now that you are a candidate. Tell me, what made you make that decision to run this year? What was it that really, spurred you on to run this year for State Board of Education?
I appreciate that question. So I'm an expert on cities. I am chair of the political science department at Howard University. I study cities. I've written several books on mayors, and I really have always been interested in studying how policy happens at the local level and
Mm-hmm.
how we can see change in our everyday lives. I was that kid growing up in Toledo, Ohio, where I consider my hometown because I spent my first 20 plus years of life there, being raised by two Black educators. My mom was a public school, high school teacher of English literature for over 40 years there in Toledo Public Schools. And my dad taught for over 50 years in public universities in Black and Ethnic Studies. We're one of the founders of the Department of Ethnic Studies at Bowling Green State University in my native Ohio. And I mention all of that because I am someone who is very used to the kind of day-to-day issues that happen in city politics. And so
Mm.
having lived here in Ward 7, east of the river and Parkside neighborhood for some time now, what really started to pique my interest and really more so my disdain and my gall and my shock and surprise was when this summer I saw my current at large, all of us who live in the district, our current at large State Board of Education member, Ashley McCauley, who was using very troubling racialized language to talk about Black and brown kids, babies, children we're talking about, and that they go to schools here east of the river, bringing in drugs and crimes. It was very Trumpian, reminded me of Trump's first campaign for office, where he said, "All Mexicans are rapists," his first speech, all of that. And I was so shocked and bewildered that someone like this could have possibly ever been elected in DC, let alone served for 4 years and has had such a negative impact on the curriculum and the development and the mental and social and emotional well-being of young kids of color. And having been a young Black boy in school, a public school, parochial school, and Montessori school, I've had all those experiences where I've been one of many, where I was the only one. And I think I can bring that experience to the school board. And so, but it was the combination of Macaulay's kind of racist statements and the summer of discontent, as I've been calling it, where we had experienced so much horrible death between, of course, the spark that lit the fire around the global world of protests against police brutality and got even Republicans like Mitt Romney standing up for Black Lives Matter here in DC in marches and in rallies, all because right of the vicious murder of 8 minutes and 46 seconds of George Floyd in the middle of the day, to remind people, like a day like today, middle of the day, beautiful outside, and murdered for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That galvanized the entire world.
Yep.
And it galvanized me as well to think about, well, what else can I do to apply the gifts that God has given me and the
Mhm.
opportunity I've been afforded with privilege, being raised in the family I did, and with education opportunity to give more of what I can give to the people who are my community, so that we can ensure that all students not only just survive, but thrive. I don't believe in
Yes.
students that are just getting by. I'm an educator,
Mhm.
been an educator my whole life. That's not acceptable for me. Every student needs to thrive, and I want to make sure that we can do that. And so, hey, I'm a candidate.
There we go. And as you explained, with a background in education with your parents and the fact that you yourself are now an educator at the illustrious Howard University. Um,
The Mecca, HU.
there we go. So, of course, it's really fitting that, you are now a candidate for this and you are in the running for this. Tell me, some of the issues that you would want to tackle, upon election, if you were to be elected. Tell me the issues that are like at the top of your mind that you would want to tackle.
Well, the first issue that I would be interested in tackling, first of all, is winning. I study politics, and so you can't really do anything in politics until you win. And so I'm a big supporter of statehood. That's one thing that if I'm elected, I would certainly be pushing for. But as with statehood won't happen unless all of us get out and vote for the U.S. senators so the Senate can change, so that that bill that's been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk will actually get passed, and statehood can then be signed by the next president, who, of course, we hope is going to be Joe Biden, to be very clear about that and where my allegiances lie as well. So that would be the first goal, would be to win. If I win, one of the things I want to do, and I'm the only candidate in the race who is advocating for curriculum change to advance equity. Everyone's talking about equity, which is, by the way, lovely. I mean, there's a time when you couldn't say the word, you couldn't say the word affirmative action. You couldn't do anything, and redistribution. And now those things are increasingly norms. I mean, we're talking about defunding the police and redistributing resources to the areas that needed the most. We have made progress. That is good news. We should be very proud of that progress that we've made. But ultimately, this is a chocolate city. That should be a state again. This is a district of Black people historically that have been disenfranchised and left behind and deliberately erased from the power that is within blocks in terms of being in the beacon of American democracy here, that is the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And we have a majority Black school district of children, mostly with African-American teachers, and governed by Black executives and a Black mayor. And we do not require that these students learn Black and ethnic studies. And encompassing upon, including in that, is LGBTQ history curriculum. I'm the only candidate, I'm the only openly gay candidate that is HIV positive, and I'm the only openly gay candidate that is running to require and mandate, which is important, not just offer as some ancillary measure, as an elective when you want to, if they're possibly can offer it, if the teacher is willing, all those types of preconditions. No. We want to ensure that students are ready to compete in the global marketplace that is this world. We're already in this country 25th in education vis-a-vis the rest of the world. DC is already among the last of the 50 states in terms of 4th and 8th grade reading proficiency. This cannot be okay. This cannot be the standard. And so the way that we achieve equity is actually by educating people to ensure that they have the knowledge to maximize the power that is given them as citizens in this country. But you have to learn what that power is and how to exercise it. And you learn that in social studies, in civics, in Black and ethnic studies, and you learn it through LGBTQ history curriculum, because all of us have been a part of this experiment in democracy in America. And when we aren't teaching students that, then it's no wonder that we end up with the kinds of racist divisions based in ignorance that we see today that are plaguing our country, like the fact that we have a KKK endorsed president right now.
There we go. There we go. Very powerful words. And you brought up you being gay, you being LGBTQ, and I just recently saw you on the cover of Swerve magazine. That.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. Tell me about that. And you kind of touched on the importance of you, being LGBTQ, but I also want you to really look, touch on, how important it is to have, Black LGBTQ elected officials, especially in this city that has a large, LGBTQIA population.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that question, because what I think is important to emphasize that is exactly what you mentioned. The LGBTQ population here in Washington, D.C. is the largest of its density. In other words, of a population that size of an area of this size, there's more LGBTQ people living here than anywhere else in the country. And yeah, I think we should be therefore requiring that that the students that grow up here learn about the LGBTQ history globally that has contributed to the world that we're living in today. This should be required and mandated, and it can be done at all appropriate age levels. And again, I'm the only candidate advocating for that. If we're going to be a progressive state, then we need to do what those progressive states have already done. New Jersey's already done this. California's already done this. Oregon's already done this. And so if we're going to follow the lead, and we should, and since this is the nation's capital, by the way, and ensuring that all students that grow up here are able to compete with the world, then this is something that we just, really have to be committed to ensuring is implemented. And whether I win or not, I certainly commit to working on making Black ethnic studies and LGBTQ curriculum a mandated regular feature of everyday classrooms and experiential learning and outdoor learning hubs in which we could be talking about these experiences in the applied setting. We have here, the Furies Collective House. We have here the in DC, the Carter G. Woodson, Memorial. And so we could be using these places to educate students outside the classroom every single day. And I think that's really important. And in this Swerve magazine article, I wanted to take the opportunity to highlight that the number of Black LGBTQ candidates that have been running for office has been growing largely since Barack Obama came out and supported marriage equality in 2012. And I started with education again because people were informed by a sitting president that they believed that it was okay, not just okay, but morally right. And by the way, he was pushed by Joe Biden, of course, to do this as well. That information, that knowledge gave other people the license to change their attitudes on LGBTQ issues. And we began to see immediately that the education increased in terms of what people understood about LGBTQ issues, what people understood about LGBTQ people themselves. And because of that, the attitudes have changed, some of the laws have changed, and marriage equality, I will say, is hanging on the thread, though, with a 5-4 vote in favor of it.
There we go.
And now we have a Supreme Court justice that's being nominated that, should she be appointed, you should be very concerned. And as someone who's been married, my wedding, first wedding, was one of the first Black LGBTQ same gender ceremonies, and it was published in Jet magazine at the time. I'm now divorced, but the opportunity to get married again is something that millions of Black LGBTQ people want access to, and it may not happen if we cannot ensure that the federal judiciary is something that we have a legitimate stake in getting a fair hearing in. And all I can say is the Trump administration has appointed 400 or so federal judges who will serve lifetime appointments for the rest of our lives. And so we are going to have a hard battle in the federal judiciary going forward. And that's really important for us to think about, because this is in politics where you make a lot of change. And speaking of federal politics, for the first time in about a month, we are going to have 2 Black and openly gay members of Congress, in Richie Torres and in Mondaire Jones. And that is going to be a very powerful, I think, addition not only to the Progressive Caucus, but to the Equality Caucus, and of course to just the descriptive representation and the power that is.
Yes,
that's what I tried to get across in this article, is that we have a lot of pressing issues happening. We need to pay attention. We need to vote. Education is on the ballot.
Yes.
LGBTQ justice is on the ballot. And yes, more Black LGBTQ people are running, but it's still not enough. We're only 6% of currently serving LGBTQ elected officials right now. Only 6% of them are Black. Yes, we've got some highlights in Richie Torres and Mondaire Jones coming up to make nationwide watershed elections, and of course, in Lori Lightfoot and Mayor of Chicago, and so many other positions. But ultimately, in the grand share of the numbers, only 6% of us out there currently serving in elected positions, and there are a host of us here in DC running. And so I'll end with this.
Yeah.
In terms of people of color who are LGBTQ running now for office, myself, one of my opponents, is running in the same race at large. So we have two Black openly gay people running in the at large race for school board. You have a openly gay member of the Asian community, Alistair Chang, running in Ward 2 for the school board. You have Randy Downs running in Ward 2 for city council. You have Ward 8 school board, Ryan Washington, who's running. You have in city council at large, Pedro, who's
Alexander.
running. So, we have a large number of LGBTQ candidates of color to support this term, and I hope that people do.
Yeah, definitely that. And I'm glad you shouted them out. And I just want to say to our viewers that you can find interviews with quite a few of those names just mentioned here on the Team Racing channel. Just type their name in and you can find them. Ravi, tell me something. Starting school again this year was very, very challenging, of course, because of the global pandemic going on. With that in mind, and with no firm specific end in sight at all to this. When you look forward to next year and how this school year goes and how the next school year will begin by the time we get to September of 2021, what are your hopes and what are your goals? And if you are elected, what will you do in your power to make sure that it's a smoother transition into opening, schools once again, and to make sure that students are safe, teachers are safe, and, school can really do the best it can do while this is going on?
That's such an important question. My daddy taught me, he's 87 right now, God bless him. And he taught me that if you don't have your health, can't do anything. All dreams stop. All of the goals, aspirations, all of our divine destinies that we're working on, all that is over if you don't have your health, if you don't take care of your health, if you are put in jeopardy, your health is by the public spaces that you may engage in as a citizen. And that includes public education and schools. And so, I work every day at a school and have for my entire career. I've only been a teacher and a student. Right now, I happen to be both because I'm also a student in Howard Divinity School right now for a Master of Divinity program, which I am loving, which is so exciting. But essentially, the challenge that we have is that we need to ensure that students and parents and their families and all the neighborhoods, by the way, that they live in and around are not put in any greater jeopardy in terms of their health simply by going to school. And so what we've done where I work currently, is that we're online through the rest of this semester. And we're ending early around Thanksgiving. And so there's no expectation of returning physically to campus in 2020, the calendar year. Already the school board and the mayor has referenced that school is going to be beginning in a hybrid model again in November. And people are very much concerned, and rightly so, about what that will look like. What are the consequences if someone's test positive? I actually have tested positive for COVID-19. So have members in my family, and God willing, we are doing well and are negative now. But the disease does run its course, and if you're lucky, you just might make it out of it. But 200,000+ people have died, including dozens here in Washington, D.C. And so teachers have tested positive. Some the students have. This is not something that we can treat lightly at all. We should always err on the side of caution here. We can learn. That's one thing that COVID has reminded us, that guess what? This is the 21st century. We're now in the third decade into the 21st century. We can learn online.
Yes.
We can engage in experiential learning. We can learn in outdoor learning hubs. We can create spaces where the air is filtered, first of all, indoor with HVAC updates that need to happen in a lot of buildings, particularly here east of the river. But we could be having classes outdoors with higher air quality, and taking advantage of that. This pandemic has ironically made us more kind of reclusive in our homes and away from each other with social distancing. But in terms of education, we can use this tragic moment, and hopefully it is a moment that will be ending soon with the vaccine being produced that we all can trust and take, that will make us be able to get life back to normal, hopefully soon. But if that does not happen, we need to have a long-term plan in place to ensure that education continues even in a virtual or hybrid learning environment, where we put health first, and foremost. And when we do that, that will ensure that we, in fact, have the ability to guarantee that we are not putting students and parents and teachers in harm's way simply by fulfilling our democratic responsibility, which is to educate.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks so much for that. So, if people want to support you, support your campaign, follow you, keep up with you, how can they go ahead and do that?
So our website is raviperi4dc.com, RAVIPERRY, the number 4dc.com. We're distributing yard signs this week, so anyone wants to hit us up, happy to stop by. I can personally stop by and drop off a yard sign, and elbow. I would normally shake your hand, but elbow and wave from afar, and say hello and get to know you and what matters to you most in your communities. I am someone who is not a native of DC, but I believe that every single student in DC is all of our responsibility. All of us have the responsibility of youth development, because we want to ensure that young people have the knowledge and the skills to be able to compete in this global world. And that means they're going to need to be able to critically think, that they're going to be able to make decisions for themselves. They're going to have to be able to engage in a diverse setting of ethnic studies, Black curriculum, and of course LGBTQ history, in order to just simply engage with everybody. And so when we do that, we will be ensuring that DC is not just the beacon of hope of democracy, but we actually are instilling hope in our young people by providing them with the tools that they will need to be successful in life, and to be successful in career, and to be successful in their engagements as citizens. And that's why I'm running. And so RaviPeri4dc.com. I hope you can join us in this effort. Ballots are already being mailed if you're in DC. So please, I invite you to do your homework and to vote all down the ballot, up and down the ballot. And I would beg and plead that you try, as me, to fight very hard till November 3rd to eliminate Trumpism and all of its effects in our politics and in our education. And if we do that together, I think we just might get out of this season of catastrophic pain that this administration has afflicted upon us, and be able to start rebuilding together anew.
Thank you so much, Ravi. And thanks, of course, for joining us once again. It's been such a pleasure every time we see you. So thanks so much for joining me today. And great luck, good luck on your run for the State Board of Education.
Thank you. God bless you. Take care.
Thank you too. You too. Take care. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.